All right. Happy New Year and welcome back to my show, What's Up Man? The show we talk about guitars, how you got them, why you like them, what you've done to them, what you used. It's about the story of the guitar. And today we have quite the story, so strap on in. So this is my SQUIER vintage modified Stratocaster. Based on the 60s, this is something made in India, which comes before the classic modified. The vintage modified was a series before that. This is from 2009, I think. I don't know, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's super nice. It's got like a really, really good poly finish on it. The body shape is really, really great. The contours are great. The horns are fantastic. And it's a really, really, really well built Strat. I really, really love it. The neck on this thing is great. Also, 12-inch radius on this, which at the time, that was what I was used to, and a lot of it has been changed. I changed the plastics to a different color. So these are now the cream knobs. They were like pitch white beforehand. The bridge block on the back was taken out from a Strat. I also had a Mexican Strat, so now it's got the full weight blocks. It came with the small one. And then I changed the saddles to more vintage style Fender saddles because the ones it came with were big and blocky like the 70s, and they're also really, really stabby in my hand, and they had like no tone. They killed the note. It was dead as soon as it rang, which was a real shame. I also changed the nut. This is a recent thing, and I was a bit of an idiot because I didn't do the best job on this. I did kind of rush it, but it took me ages to get it right. I got this tusk nut. I sanded down the back so it could sit level-ish, but the one that was in there was like super glued in. So as I'm taking it out, I've got a screwdriver and I'm chiseling away. I'm just trying to get this thing to move. It will not budge. I eventually get it out, but the face of it just tears off, leaving tiny bits inside the nut cavity, which I can't get rid of. So instead of trying to file it out and just, you know, get the groove clear, I decide to tear it out, and I also tear out some of the fretboard. Right at the very top, there's a few chunks, like deep grooves of missing rosewood, which is quite an eyesore. I'm sorry to do this to you, guitar. And the nut here, no, I replaced it with a tusk nut, and I sanded down the back, and I put in the grooves with a razor blade and with old strings, and that just wasn't moving. So then I get like this, one of these key rings with a whole bunch of like nut files on, and they're good for about 10 seconds. That was the worst thing I've ever bought in my life, and that took forever to get this down. So eventually I move on and I get some like diamond files, and I should have just done that in the first place. But as you can see, I did kind of a rough job, and it took me ages to get these strings level. They've only just been leveled like today, or like the day before, because it's really hard to get this to the right level because I don't want to go too much. If you go too deep, then you have to start again and like refill it and then go all over again, and that's just like, I don't want to do that. I just wanted it to play nice, and it played great before. That's the thing. I don't think the nut was the problem. So I was a bit of an idiot there. That was really dumb of me. But now it's got a tusk nut, and the grooves are cut kind of better. However, it was kind of risky for me to try that in the first place. I should have just taken it to a luthier, really. But it's not exactly the hardest job in the world. I just had no patience. So next time, I'll go slower. And I'll use the right tools for the job. And I won't bodge job it because it shows. That's my lesson for today. So after I realized that the nut wasn't the problem, I changed to tuners. The tuners were these chrome SQUIER tuners. And they came in the same way that the modern fender tuners come in, with the 2 bolts just like pushed into the back and then the pressure's held on by the washer on the front. So I bought some of the fender tuners like a couple months ago, and I only just got around to putting them on a couple of days ago. And you know how I told you not to bodge things? Well, I bodged these as well, because they were the wrong measurement because of the metric imperial thing. The fender ones are imperial, and these are made overseas, so they're metric. So they were like a whole millimeter off in like a diagonal direction. So I decided to try and get them back in. So I had to like, you know, bore a hole in there. And then funnily enough, as soon as I put the hole in where it seemed to be the right place, for whatever reason, it would move up. So I had to like drill in exactly where I thought, and I was being careful at first, but then it just wasn't going in at all. So I had to just basically drill around it to get a bigger hole than it needed to be, so then it would finally sit. Some of them don't sit flush, and they're a little bit on the piss, a little bit wonky. But it plays, it works, and it sounds a lot better now that it's got the new tuners, the new nut, the new saddles, and the new block. That's where all of the contact happens for the Strats. For the resonance is all coming from where the string travels. So from tuner to nut, nut to saddle, saddle to block on the back, it's a lot better. So fantastic. Wasn't too expensive either. I haven't like put, you know, 200 quid worth of stuff in this. The parts I already had from the pickups, these are like maybe 20 quid. The saddles were another 20 quid. The block I already had. The nut was a 10 quid, and the tuners were 30 quid. So it's not too bad. I haven't like done what I did with my Epiphone and just put £500 worth of parts in it and work into it. So that's good. It's still on the cheap. Maybe just a bit more expensive than buying one off of Reverb, but now it's got all the specs I put in, which is fantastic. That's what the SQUIER is currently like right now. Here's how I got it. This is a long story. So, in 2018, I take my first trip abroad on my own. I went to go and meet my fiance, and this is the first time we'd ever seen each other in person. At the time, she wasn't my fiance. At the time, she was my girlfriend. It was great. But yeah, this was our first time seeing each other in person, after countless people saying, "Oh, how do you know she's even real?" And, you know, that was a funny joke for a good 6 months. I fly over to Texas on my own. It was a long journey. I made it a lot more difficult than it had to be, because I didn't really know how to travel, and I didn't ask for help to get the journey done the most logistic way possible. But that's part of the charm, I guess, of doing it on your own for the first time. My friend Josh Dehan, thank you Josh very much, by the way, he drove me up to Manchester, and then from Manchester I went to Philadelphia. I had a Philly cheesesteak there. That was great. And then I flew from Philadelphia over to Houston, Texas. It was a really long journey because I made it the worst I possibly could have. Found out the way to fly to Texas is to go to Bristol, Amsterdam, and then go to Houston. I didn't know that though, did I? So I had a really, really long journey ahead of me. I had no idea it could have been a lot shorter. But then I land and I meet her for the first time. She's real. It was great. It was amazing. It's in a couple of videos where I've used that footage, because it's a really, really good moment. But I had a plan for myself that I wanted to get myself a guitar. If for whatever reason I get there and it's not what I expect it to be, then I can at least come away with a guitar or an experience which I like a lot. It was a great experience. I had one of the best times ever. It was fantastic. I had lots of food. Whataburger was amazing. Thank you very much for taking me to Whataburger. I love that. And we played laser tag, and we owned everyone there. We were great. And we went bowling also. That was fantastic. But on the second day of me landing, first thing, we go to Guitar Center, because of course I want to go to Guitar Center. It would have been great. So we go to Guitar Center, and I saved myself aside £400 to grab a guitar. $400, I should say, to grab a guitar. Thinking that I could get a Mexican Fender. And I'm looking around, and there are two things in my budget. There's a Mexican Tele, which is beat up like crazy, and there's an equally beat up Mexican Strat. And they were dogs. They were garbage. They were so bad. And I remember walking in there like, I really want to get a guitar, and I'm looking around and I'm not really seeing anything that's in my budget that is any good, and there's no real reason for me to go out of my way to grab a guitar from overseas to then have the trouble to bring it back again if it's a substandard guitar and nothing to write home about. So I'm looking around the place and I'm thinking, this isn't really worth it. And then boom, I see this thing on a stand very much like this, just like in passing by a whole bunch of amps. I see the Squier and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I go take it with me and I plug it in. Naomi's there, she's filming me play. It's the first time she's seen me play in person and I'm just noodling. I'm really nervous because if I screw up, she thinks I'm terrible, even though she wouldn't say that. But yeah, I'm playing it in the shop and I'm thinking this is actually really, really great. And I saw the price tag, I was like, that is insane. $140, that means I can get loads of other stuff too. So I decided to grab this guitar. I grab 2 shirts, a Gibson one for me and a Fender one for my friend. And I grab a lead because obviously I need a lead so I can plug into this Black Star Fly. This little practice amp was amazing while I was over there. It's tiny, lightweight, and I've used it so much when I go away because it's tiny, it fits in your backpack. I could busk with it, but I haven't busked with it yet. Yeah, these things are really, really great. Battery powered. They have a delay in there, which was more fun than a reverb, but I do wish they had a reverb too. That's my only complaint on that. But yeah, this thing was great. It's got a headphone input as well. So I did have some fun jamming away to some songs while I was waiting in the hotel room if she was getting ready one morning, whatever. And I had a blast. So it came up to the $400 that I'd saved up for. And that was with the guitar, gig bag, amp, lead, shirts, which was great. Now I realize I probably should have done it in the first place because buying just a Fender with no amp would have been pretty annoying. Because what if I get home and I realize none of it works? Dun dun dun, here's the thing. That's exactly what happened with this guitar. It was left in Texas for a good 4 months. It was left in Texas. Naomi flies over and I ask her to bring it with her. With the gig bag, I took the amp home. I don't know why I took the amp home and not the guitar, but I did. And I asked her to bubble it up. She did a really good job of that. She sent me some pictures beforehand so I could see the guitar again because I really missed it. She brings it with her on the plane. She has a big suitcase with her. And of course, when she lands, one of these things don't land with her. And it was a suitcase. And I'm there waiting in the terminal thinking, I hope she's okay. And she carries my guitar and she says, they've held my suitcase. I don't know where it is. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm really sorry about that. But inside, the terrible person I am was like, at least the guitar's here. So then I go home and I play it. And I really, really liked having this thing back. While it was away, I played custom shop strats in PMT Cardiff, and they didn't hold a candle to this guitar. Like they, to my fingers, felt dry and a little dull, but this guitar in Texas, as I remembered it, maybe it's just nostalgia, but as I remembered it, this thing played a lot better to me. And the 12-inch radius as well made it a lot more playable for my hands because I can't really get along with the vintage spec 7.5-inch radius, but the strats I was playing, the custom shop strats, did have the 12-inch radius, so it was a fairish test. But yeah, this was a really, really great resonant piece of wood, and I really enjoyed playing it. The sound was pretty good. I was intending to leave it as it was, and I had a gig that weekend when Naomi landed in the Cat and Wheel in Bristol. So I take this guitar, and then I find out that the switch wasn't working. So that was fun, and I played it at home. You know, I was messing with it when she got back. But when I got to the gig, the switch stopped working. So it would flippantly like turn off, or I have to like give it a jab, which was really embarrassing because I was playing really well. But as soon as that happens, your confidence is knocked and everything went out the window. So then I decided to get a new switch for it, obviously. And then the switch turned into the saddles, and then the saddles turned into the block, and then the block turned into the tuners, and then the pickups, and then the nut, and then everything went. I did my thing with it. And now it's playing and sounding really, really, really great. Not to sound like one of those guys who's like, oh, it's better than any Fender, but it's as good as some of those Fenders out there. You're still gonna feel the cheapness in it in the finish, and The finish is the way it feels, so there's a bit of give and take there. But this guitar really does hold its own against all of my other guitars, which is great. And I like the fact that it's a Squier. Also, I had her sign the back while I was in Texas. I've got to tell you that. But the back of the headstock has her signature on it, and she's still bugging me to clean it off. It's basically off now anyway. I do have a picture of it when it was freshly applied with a Sharpie. It's close to coming off. In fact, she might have already taken it off when she cleaned it. No, it's still there. It's still there. We're okay. This guitar is very sentimental to me. I got it from one of the best trips away in Texas. Same as this shirt. I got this shirt from one of the best trips of my life. I really, really enjoyed it. I've been back once. I aim to go back all the time. Obviously, I've got family over there now, which is fantastic. And this guitar will probably be coming with me there, because now I'm old enough to go to the bars. I wasn't old enough then, but I am now. So I'll bring this one with me. I'll play at some of the jam nights there. It'll be great. In terms of strats and playing, they're not exactly my first call. However, I do find myself playing differently on a Strat because I'm just not used to it. When I gig a Strat, which is rarely now, I have to kind of pick out a rig which will suit it. And I used to bring my Fender Supersonic with my whole pedal board, so I had range and places to go. I tend to bring less pedals out now because I've got the Gibsons and they have plenty of oomph which I need to get the amp talking to me the way I like. With Strats, I need to set it up differently and I'm just not trained on them, I guess. Telecasters are a bit more forgiving for me. I'll do a video on that later if that's important to anyone. But this Strat and my other one that I have now, they sound really, really great. And when I do sit down and play them in my room, I tend to play music and not just play fun. I play a bit of both, but I tend to make songs with Strats. That's what I find with these guitars. They're really good tools to bring out songs and not exactly just shred or play or just play beef stuff, because they won't give you beef straight away. You know, most of the time when I plug in a Strat after having a Gibson Les Paul set up, it's a lot less output, so I'll play quieter stuff or softer stuff, which ends up being really nice. Both of these Strats do that. I really like that. But this one especially has come out on a couple of gigs with me, which is great. I played at a jam night with this guitar, I played at a few charity gigs with this guitar, and obviously the Cat and Wheel one, where I realised everything was wrong with it. Now it's been fixed, it hasn't come out in its final form. But hopefully when all this is over, it can come out. Until then, it will be on some recordings and it will be in my room, being played and enjoyed the way it should be. I'm really, really thankful to Naomi for bringing it over. I'm really thankful that I've been able to upgrade it as much as I have without spending, you know, a fortune on it, because a lot of it is with parts I already had from other guitars, which is great. And I'm really, really thankful for 100 subscribers. Thank you very much to all 100 of you who are here with me on this guitar channel, music channel, supporting my stuff. I really, really am thankful for it. It's great. And I hope you have a wonderful new year. 2021, we can do it, we'll be great. And I hope you stick around for some more. I've got some guests coming on the show shortly, which will be great. Thank you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. And give me a like. It really works out massively for me. I like it a lot when you like it a lot. All right, well, I'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye. bye.